Okay, hello everybody. Wednesday, 9 o'clock here in Ireland and London, 10 o'clock in France. It is time for our spiritual light. And today's topic it is communication with spirits and their role of mediums. So we will talk more about the mediumship, which is a fascinating and most explored topics we have in regarding to spiritism. And Charles is with me. Silvia probably will join us a little bit late. So, bonsoir, Charles.
Bonsoir, Stevan. Bonsoir. Hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. Very happy, as usual, to be here together with all of you.
Yeah, good to have you here as well. So, since we start to we will talk about spirit mediumship. I think it's important for us to define what it is a medium. Medium, it is what the terminology means. It is something in the middle. It is something in the middle between spiritual world and corporeal world. Um, being everybody has mediumship. Some are more developed, the others are less developed, but we do have mediumship. We do communicate with the spirits sometime in our day, in our life. We do have this kind of communication by a true message when you could hear the message, by a writing message, by an intuition. Um, so at the moment we have not interference. At the moment we have a kind of connection with spirits or with non corporeal people, we do have a manifestation, we do have a mediumship. This is a very genetic approach. And Charles, if you want to add more colors to what I said, please.
Yes, I always like to come back to basics. Uh, Basically, give me just a second. Here we are. We have, are there souls? Are they spirits? Do we have a soul? That's the first question. So we discussed several times in several of these spiritual light emissions. Yes, indeed, we have a soul. And the next question is then, okay, but where is the soul coming from? Is it created at the same time as the body? What happens when it is dying, when we are dying? So we know that the soul exists before our life, that it reincarnates, and that when we die, the soul disincarnates. So it disengages from the physical body, gets back to the freedom of the spiritual world. So that's one thing. Second thing now, can we have interactions between the souls and us as being incarnated? So obviously, yes, because it's also observed. And the explication is very simple. We have a soul which is temporarily incarnated in a physical body. So we are at the same time in the physical body, in the material world, and at the same time our soul is participating to the spiritual world. So there are some cases, what we described as well, that our soul can take some temporary during our life, temporary some freedom with regards to the physical body. For instance, when we sleep, or in some other cases, and most of these cases, somnambulism, our soul gets free from the body. The other cases are the mediumship, and that is then when the soul are communicating between themselves. We can explain, for instance, the transmission of thought between two living persons, and we can also explain through the same phenomenon the communication from soul which are not incarnated with us which are incarnated. But this faculty, as you told, Stevan, is not general, it's not permanent. And I think it's a good thing, because if we would see permanently all the souls which are around us, it would be quite disturbing. So this faculty is, how to say, existing, but very rare to be permanent.
Mm.
You also told Stevan that we are more or less all mediums, because the very light forms of mediumship are things called intuition, presentiments. I don't know if the presentimentos in English, Stevan, if you can help me. Or we can have premonitions.
I would say premonitions, or kind of deja vu, or
Premonition is very clear. You have a vision of something very accurately which will happen in the future, and that can be verified later on.
you
And
have a feeling. Yeah, you have a feeling
feeling
that's
good, how to say, presentimento, in Portuguese, or pressentiment in French, is the same but not so clear. Something a little bit vague, but which also can be recognized when it really happens, as you told, déjà vu or things like that. So an inspiration, or the voice of our conscience, all these are forms of mediumship that almost everyone has. But then, of course, the word medium is used for more ostensive forms of mediumship. For instance, people who are hearing the spirits, or who are seeing the spirits, or who are capable of writing under the influence of spirits, or even capable for doing some physical effects, enabling the spirits to act on the material world through ectoplasm or phenomena like this. So the word medium is dedicated for this more ostensible, more, how to say, apparent, or forms of phenomenon. But it is something which is in nature. And the more we are progressing, the more we are evolving, our spirits, the more we get this freedom from the physical body. So the people who are medium, when you look the proportion in the population, you have more and more people with a mediumistic facility. And the more our humanity is progressing, the more frequent we will have mediums. I mean, the number of medium will be higher in the population. So that is again a small introduction. Now the question is, okay, how is a medium, for instance, a medium who has intuitive medium, or when we have an idea or inspiration? There is always a question: does this inspiration come from us, from our own spirits, or does it come from another spirit who is inspiring something to us? So this is the eternal question. The mediumship, we know in the mediumship that you have always a mixture of both. Let's say a medium which is learning or starting in the exercise of the mediumship, he may have 70 or 80% coming from his spirit and 20% from an external spirit. And mediums like Chico Xavier is probably the opposite. He has 80% coming from the spirit and only 20% influenced by himself. So
That's a
you have, sorry?
it's a simple difference.
Yeah, you have almost never 0% and 100% mediumship, or even 100% us and 0% inspired, because a lot of times we say, oh, what a nice idea I got here. We should rather say, thanks to the spirit who inspired me this idea. We should stay a little bit more humble, because this is, again, we know that the law which is governing the relationship between spirits is the law of affinity. If we want to have good spirits, we have to have good thoughts, serious intention, and so on. If we have not serious intention, or if we are motivated by curiosity, or if we are motivated by material things, for instance, earning money through mediumship, then the good spirits will take some distance. And when the good spirits are going away, you have a lot of other spirits which are not so good, which are coming and replacing them. So this law of affinity is what is governing the relationship between the souls, whether incarnated, between themselves, between incarnated, it's already the case, but it's a general rule between incarnated and discarnated souls. Hello,
Good.
Silvia, how are you?
And
Welcome.
meanwhile, Silvia joined us. Good evening, Miss Gibbons. How are you, my dear?
Hello, I'm sorry for my delay. I couldn't get through, couldn't get in. Sorry, that keeps going off and in, and off and in. So I apologize. And good evening, you, the two of you, and everyone who'll be listening to us.
Yeah,
I'm
good.
here now, though. I hope I can stay.
That's the important thing.
Thank
You are
you.
here. You are here. You are here. So, my dear,
Yeah, I was here then
what's
trying
your
to.
what's your contribution to our discussion here? Because uh, the topic is what it is mediumship. I just gave a very generic, very broad um, overview about what is mediumship. Charles gave him a little bit more context, and if you want to contribute,
Have went. I didn't hear anything that you said. You said I just gave, and that's all I heard.
mm, okay. What's your contribution regarding to mediumship? What's your 2 cents
You're
about
on
it?
mute, Silvia. You're on mute.
You're on mute, Silvia. You're on mute.
Well, mediumship is one of my favorite conversations. I think there's so much to learn about mediumship. I think this is the beginning of what Charles was saying, but we know that mediumship, it's every one of us, each and every person is a medium to start with. And people in which the mediumship is more open, that we call, mediums, are the ones that have more ostensive mediumship. They have more, they feel more, but everyone has intuition, have presentiment. So we're all mediums. So it is also an ability that we have to connect with the spiritual world. Is the way that we can communicate. It's like the go-between between the incarnate and discarnate world to communicate to those who have already gone into the spiritual world and are alive in a different dimension. As we discussed last week and many other times, only a body dies. A spirit is eternal, lives forever, and we can can communicate with those that are dead in the material world, but they continue living in the spiritual world. So mediumship is this ability that we have to communicate with the spiritual world. And I think it's interesting, I'm not sure if Charles already mentioned that, but that is a term that was coined by Allan Kardec, the medium, because we are in between the two worlds. And of course, as well, the spirits teach us that as we progress, as we evolve as human beings, as the more and more enlightened, there'll be a time that there'll be no difference. We can communicate with the spiritual world just ourselves. So that's all part of it. And mediumship as well is something that we learn within the spiritualist teachings, that mediumship is something that's given to us as like almost an extra, something extra for us to do, that can help us to progress and overcome some of maybe the difficulties we had in the past by working. And one of the most important things that we learn within spiritism is that mediumship is not a profession. You're not a professional medium. The mediumship is something that you do as a volunteer, that you give for free what you receive for free, as we learned in the Gospels. So using your ability, mediumship ability to make money, to become rich, is not really very good. It's something that we do. We work, we have our jobs, we have our professions, we work, we earn money to survive, but we do not use healing or mediumship or any of these abilities as a medium to make money, to, as a profession that we earn money from. It's something that's completely free, given. And because also, I think one of the important points as well is that whenever we help others, we help ourselves. So, and also, if there isn't, the spirits need a medium to work, but it's their work. We're just transmitting it. We in a way, we are interpreters of the spirit, but the work is theirs. So to earn money doing that, also, it would be like we earning money from somebody else's work, which I don't think on this earth anyone would accept, to do work and somebody else gets your wages. So I think, just to start, what I can say about the mediumship. Of course, I can talk about, 3 days. All of us could, I think, because it's so exciting a subject, isn't it? And there are so many types of mediumship, so many different types of mediumship, and we can develop so much. It's an incredible ability. It's a blessing, really. So that's it.
Good. Well, some people say it's a curse. Some people say it's a blessing. Some people say this is not thing from God. So we heard a lot of things,
Yeah. Well, it is from God, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Better.
Yeah. But the point is, just help me here, guys. We do have many types of mediumship. So these communications with the spirits could be through channeling. It is when you write a message. Could be to when you hear the spirits. What's the name, Silvia? It's
well, it's that all types of mediumship, clairvoyance, when you see the spirit, or when you hear the spirits. It can be writing, it can be painting, it can be intuition, it can be speaking a different language. I mean, I think there must be about 100 pages in the mediums book, the types of mediumship there is.
Yeah. Yeah.
And music, some people can play music, others can draw, paint, can, but I think the most common is transmediumship, isn't it? What you call it? We were saying channeling
Yeah.
and writing. And they also, manifest. You can materialize things. There is spirit of materialization, that you can materialize items and things that can be seen and touched. There is also transport. You can, move things. You can be by location, that the person can be here and it can be seen in another place. There is a very famous story in the Bibles and even in the Catholic annals of the Catholic Church. Saint Anthony of Padua, he was in Spain and he was seeing in Rome defending his father. And then I think Saint Alfonso of Liguria as well, that was seen in a different place when everybody knew he was in another place. So this is within even the Catholic Church, the annals of, so that's one type of mediumship, and so on and so forth. Maybe Charles would like to say a few more.
Yeah. And Charles, if you know more, please let us know. But the main question
That is
here is
the direct, the mediums of direct, that they can be there and something can write just by using the mediums. They have the physical mediums, like with the poltergeists and everything. This is they, for any spirit manifestation to come through, it needs a medium. Yeah, Charles, would you like to say some more about that?
Yes, of course. So the reference we have in the Spiritist body of knowledge about mediumship is the first book is the book on mediums, the mediums book, written by Alan Kardec, and it's specifically about mediumship. So he's then classifying the different type of mediumship. You have, as Silvia told already, physical effect mediums. So when the spirits can appear, become tangible, or act on the matter, do poltergeist and move objects and things like that. And you have also the intellectual mediumship, intelligent mediumship, which are psychography, channeling, as you told, all when the spirits are transmitting messages with some content, sometimes with content unknown by all the people present, or even far beyond their capacity of reasoning, So all these are constituting evidences that the communication is coming from a third spirit, another intelligence, which is different and sometimes superior to the one which are here. So the one question that Silvia started talking about is, what is mediumship for? It is indeed part of the power of our soul. The people who are not believing that they have a soul, they bypass completely all these wonderful and huge faculties we have. Of course, it's also not black and white, as we have seen. We can never be sure about the identity of the spirit which is communicating. A lot of people, for instance, which are mooring, which go to see a medium paying, unfortunately, a lot of times, and willing to have a communication from the beloved one who passed away. And the medium is then coming and saying some things. How can the person be sure that it's really coming from the soul of that beloved person? Or maybe it comes from somewhere else, some other spirits, or maybe sometimes it's also invented by the medium himself. This unfortunately happens from time to time. And sometimes also now with Google, with social networks and so on, you can find a lot of information about the beloved one who passed away. And there are already some fake communications organized like that, unfortunately. So we as spiritists, we do not share this type of practice, of course. We condemn it. We should remain fair and honest, and always inform about the limitation of mediumship. It does not work at a given point in time. It works, sometimes it doesn't work. So you cannot make appointments saying that day, that hour, I will guarantee you to have the spirit of your beloved one. This is just impossible. The observation shows that it is not possible. So, and on another hand, the best evidences of identity of communicating spirits, we get them when we are not expecting them, when they come spontaneously. Nobody is thinking about a given person and so on, and all of a sudden this person comes and gives huge evidences that the people which are concerned and touched by this, they have no doubt anymore. Of course, for a third person who doesn't know neither the person nor the spirit or the context or whatever, they will continue doubting. So in this sense, mediumship is a kind of subjective phenomenon. Nevertheless, it cannot be ignored, because a lot of times you have objective evidences transmitted which are absolutely ignored by everyone except by the spirit himself, which is communicating. So that's all the science study mediumship. We know what we need to know what we can expect from mediumship and what we should not expect from mediumship. Particularly if you go and say, okay, a medium, please give me the number of the next lottery. You will get numbers, but you will
If you're
much
gonna
probably
win, it's
use.
totally different.
So exactly, you will use money because it will not be the right one. Or you go and ask, shall I do this, marry this person or not, or shall I separate, or all these type of questions. We have our free will, and the good spirits will never ever act jeopardizing our free will. They will let us to have the decision. They will come with some advices, but at the end, they will leave us the decision with us. And when I see sometimes some people who are so dependent, they don't do anything without asking medium or paying, of course, as well, most of the time, consulting the spirits. It's not a good sign, and that is, by the way, what is tricky in the mediumship, because some people may get, it's a kind of an addiction, and no, we need to know that we have our free will. We need to do our decisions, stand for these decisions, are to be responsible, and we should not delegate our free will neither to some spirits and even less to some mediums. Okay, so there are things that we can do, things that we cannot do, or questions that we can ask to the spirits, and questions that we should not ask to the spirits. And one thing is what Silvia also told. The credit card or a bank account or whatever are not existing in the spiritual world. So the spirits cannot be motivated by money. So as soon as money is involved somewhere, always you have to be very careful, very cautious. I understand the position of the spiritualists, which say, okay, the medium is spending his time for mediumship, so it's normal that he gets some retribution. We as spiritists are of the opinion we should stay disinterested and not ask for money, because even if we give our time, what we receive through mediumship is given for free by the spirits, and what's something which is given to us for free, we should not sell it, particularly because how to say, if the spirits are not here, you cannot sell anything, do not receive anything. You are somehow selling something which you do not control, which is not coming from you, you know. So it's not, we prefer not to do it, and that's a quite strong opinion among spiritists, is mediumship should be disinterested and done for free. And the main purpose of mediumship is to do good, to help people, to learn, to get some information, make questions about. Uh, of course, if you ask what is God, which is question number one, is a spirit's book. A good spirit will answer you. Read the spirit's book, and then you come back with questions which are not answered in that book. They will not repeat themselves. Like here between us, if you want to have a serious person, a professor of university or whatsoever, which are normally very busy, you should not come with silly questions. You should really come with questions for them, Otherwise, they will simply say, okay, these people are not serious, I go away. And the same happens with the spirits, And then in the spiritual world, you always have some other spirits. They will come and answer the question, but the answer you will get will be of bad quality, or even also fake. Also, the mediumship, there have been some researches done in US and also in Russia for military purpose, for instance. Is it possible for a medium in bilocation, as Silvia explained, to go to the secret manufacturing or base or whatever of the enemy and give me some details about it? It would be good if it would work, but again, they stopped this type of work because even if sometimes it worked, it is not working very often, again, because these things are not disinterested. Once you do something completely disinterested for peace, for instance, or for helping, or for charity, or for consoling, or whatever, then yes, you will get a strong spiritual assistance, which will multiply by 10 what you, or even more, what you would be able to do alone without the mediumship. Okay, so these are all other very important points related to mediumship.
Yeah, and Silvia, since you love to talk about mediumship, why mediumship is so banned in in the in other religions, in society, when because
Unmute.
I did you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, but Silvia looks like she's
I can hear you. I just couldn't unmute myself.
okay.
I can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, what I'm saying, why mediumship is so banned in other religions, in the society? Because at the time of Kardec, mediumship is a kind of entertainment. That's why we had Kardec written the medium's book in order to put a kind of organization, those things. And why nowadays this is so wrong, let's say.
I think this is, in a way, sort of officially it's forbidden. I think one of the points that Kardec said is that Spiritism didn't bring anything new, that mediumship had already existed from time immemorial, since mankind came to this earth. So there has always been, I mean, if we look back into the past, the temples in Egypt, in Rome, in Greece, in Sumer, and all that, they always had priestesses and giving messages. In Rome they're called the Sibyls. In Greece was the Pythonis, I think, and the most famous of it was in the temple of Apollo in Delphi, where people would come and talk to the oracle, and the oracle was actually the medium. There was a woman who was a medium. So this always existed. people always went to ask questions. So that's something that always exists. But one of the differences is that, wrote this medium's book explaining what is mediumship, where it comes from, how does it work. Just complete something that Charles was saying, is not does not create miracles, because everything is based on natural laws, and it's not something paranormal either. It's based on the laws of God, the natural laws that exist. I think that one of the points in answering your question I think the people to have communications with, the dead and everything. And I think he did that because, people would exploit that kind of thing. And, like they do now. And I think many religion, they say no because of what Moses had done, but he had a very strong reason for doing that, because it was quite common for people to, just ask things, like Charles was saying, people asking things all the time from the spirits and everything. So although it seems to be bad, but it's a big business out there. I mean, you have programs on the telly about this famous medium in Long Island or something. There are lots of people who go to mediums, even though it's not allowed. People do go when they have a problem, or if they have lost a loved one and they want to communicate with them. And so I think in a way, officially, but in the background, it works very well and has always been working, and we had such a famous mediums throughout history, giving messages. And another thing as well, that in ancient times, this was very much closed in, wasn't it, in the temples. Even now, in the real, in South America, in many of the countries of South America, they have shamans. A child is taken from very early on, when they show that they have some mediumship abilities, they are trained to be the shaman. So they do, and the thing is to ask about, he becomes like a wise person who gives advice to the people, and that helps them, to guide them. And they do have all that ability, and they still now, they are trained. Not all the people that sometimes you see in mind body things that banging something. No, the real shamans, the ones that are trained from the world, from 3-4 years old. So that is always that. You be interested there, people always asking, and even though sometimes officially it's not, people do go for that, and it's big business in some places. We know that people make a lot of money, in mediumship. And I think, going from something that Charles was saying, and just to open up the eyes of people who go to mediums, because that is one thing, when you are paying for it, even if the spirit is not there, and sometimes they are not, if you are paying for that, the medium will feel that they need to tell you something, even if they are not listening to anything, because you are paying them. So if you are paying for this stuff, be careful, because not everything comes from a spirit, because they may not be there. And also very serious people, very serious spirits, those who guide humanity, those who guides us, because we all have our guardian angels that are with us, who give inspiration to us in our lives. The serious spirits, they are not with these people. So you might be getting a device, even though it comes from a spirit, is not necessarily the best advice that you could get. Because any, someone who's there joking, they wanted to say something. And so you have to be really careful when you're paying for a device from a spirit. Not always there is spirit, and sometimes the spirits that are there, you would not want to be advised by them. So it's something to be taken care of as well. And, as I said, even though it's forbidden, it's not really, it's always there, And also, I think, I don't know how you feel about it. It's not something that you can actually stop, because a person is, when you consider that every one of us is a medium, because I think, to quote Pierre de Talleyrand, is it? I always forget.
Teilhard de Chardin.
Pierre de Chardin.
Yeah.
Chardin. He said, we are spirits living in a material life, not a material being living a spiritual life. And this, he was a Catholic priest, doesn't he? So he said that, and which is true. We are spiritual beings living in a material. So all of us have the ability of mediumship. And we don't need to go to anybody else for advice. If we sit down, if we concentrate, if we ask for help and guidance, all of us, we have our guardian angels that will guide us, to give us intuition, that helps us. And it's better than if you're going off and paying for someone who might not be giving you the advice you would really not like to have, So that's one of the things. And also, if anybody is really interested in learning more about mediumship, you can download the books, are free in many languages. You can download this in the internet, the Medium's book, codified by Allan Kardec. And Charles, I think, has more things in the French as well. So it's free. You can read it, can download it, and study, learn, just read through. And it would be very important for all of us, because you are a medium anyway.
That's another important point, Silvia, because why do the traditional religions restrain or forbid even the mediumship? Because somehow they want to keep dominating the masses of people, They are afraid that the people, through mediumship, they bypass these religious authorities. They go directly to the spirits or directly to God. And even that the spirits are teaching them things, denunciating sometimes the hypocrisies and, so this is exactly what happened. Because Jesus had mediumship everywhere. In the Gospels, in the Bible, you find mediumship phenomenon almost at every pages, isn't it? And the first Christians, the father of the church, called les pères de l'Église in French, they were practicing mediumship. And then the central authority did not see this with a good eye, and that is why they have forbidden it. But hiddenly, they continue practicing it. Spiritist approach is totally different. The medium's book is open, everyone can buy it. It's everything written there, all the theory is there. There is nothing hidden, and even encouraging everyone taking the cares which are stated in the mediumship to practice it, to generalize it. So there is no privilege. It's not reserved only for some elite or whatever. The Spiritist approach is absolutely open. Everyone is free to do whatever he wants. And the book is here as an advice, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, what are the traps, what are the dangers, and so on. And from this, everyone is free to practice. There is no central control. There is no hierarchical authority within the Spiritist movement. There has never been and cannot be, you know. So that's the main difference between the approach. And what I wanted to say also, we can take some example of mediumship. And for me, in my opinion, the best example of medium is Chico Xavier. So luckily, you have a biography which is written by, the name is escaping me, a biography of Chico Xavier in English.
Yes.
What's the name of the
Yes,
author?
I think Max Mayor, isn't it?
No, in English.
Okay, 1 second.
Oh, yes, Leon Playfair.
Guy Leon
Leon
Playfair,
Playfair, isn't
exactly.
it?
So please read it. You may find the book here or there. And there you will see why
Nigel
Chico
Playfair,
Xavier
yes,
is
he
Chico
wrote
Xavier.
a book about Chico
Voilà.
Xavier, yes.
There you will understand why Chico Xavier is so recognized as a medium. Okay, because
sorry, I don't have in English, but I have in French.
no, yes. So this is also a biography written by a French guy. So we have a biography in French, and there is another biography written in English by an Englishman, Guy Leon Playfair. Both of them spent some time, visited a lot of people, knew Chico personally even, and there you will see what Chico did, what he did not do. Chico never asked for money for everything. Always, all the results of the book selling and so on, he has granted it to charity or organizations or spiritist groups or things like that. And he wrote so many letters that he got from spirits without knowing them, without even knowing that the related person, father or mother or beloved ones of him, would come to visit him. So he was completely blind without knowing anything. And there are so many evidences in those letters. All this is also illustrated in a movie which is called The Mother of Chico Xavier, as Mãe de Chico Xavier, which is also existing, not spoken in English, but you have the subtitles in English. And that is showing this wonderful work Chico has done for consoling, helping all these people which were desperate, mooring, and depressed and whatever, and of a sudden, poof, after getting these evidences, made a U-turn and restarted even stronger and with more motivation in their life in the good way. So,
and also, I mean, sorry, Charles.
Go on.
I was just going to say that he had a lot of abilities, every kind of mediumship, because usually we have 2 or 3 different ones, and we can, the more we work, the more we develop them. But Chico had a lot of types of mediumship, but he was told to dedicate himself to writing, and he wrote over 800 books. And I think now it's about over 500 now have been printed. And just to say that, because Trevor is O'Donnell, he was saying, he didn't know he had a book in English. That many of Chico Xavier's books have been translated not only in English but in many other languages. And he wrote from poetry, which I think was the first book he published, that he, was the Parnaso de Além Túmulo, which there are many, many poets. And he wrote books about science, about literature, about so many different things. And in the collection of the books of André Luiz and Chico Xavier, which was a spirit who gave many books, but he was also working with a plethora of spirits. He, in his book, Missionaries of Light, which is the third book of the collection, he talks about the pineal gland and talk about the real functions of the pineal gland 12 years before the scientists at Harvard University discovered that, the pineal gland actually releases hormones like serotonin and all sorts of things. So some of his books are extremely, extremely scientific and extremely knowledgeable, and quite difficult. Some of them are quite difficult to read because he
Yeah.
talks about so many subjects. Also, in his that book, The Mundo Maior, in the Higher World, he talks about the brain, how the brain works, how it functions, how it connects with things, and he writes it in a very scientific way. So there's so much to learn. And he had an exceptional mediumship, and he was used mostly for the books. And I think also, we can't forget a very well-known medium who did wonderful work as well in America. Oh gosh, his name just gone from my head. That the American medium, very, very, he did such incredible work as well. Do you remember his name? I forgot. Oh my goodness, just gone from my head. It's completely crazy. Edgar Cayce. He wrote books, and he did some incredible work. And he was able to help many people to cure. There is a very famous case of this girl who cried a lot. She had terrible pains, and the doctor couldn't find what she had, and all the problems and everything. And the family, desperate, they didn't know what to do with her. She used to hurt herself because she was in so much pain, and nobody could find out what she had. And when she went to, a family wrote to him, and he could be there. Actually, that was a case of bilocation, because he would be sitting there in his chair. Somebody would be next to him writing everything he said. And he himself, his spirit, would go to wherever the person was, and he could describe all the places and everything. And he actually found out this girl had a problem with her wisdom tooth, that instead of coming down, it actually went up and was hitting this nerve. And of course, that couldn't be seen because it was, before a lot of, nowadays probably would be quite easy to find, but in those days it wasn't. And he said, well, she has this tooth and it's hitting the nerve. That's why she's in terrible pain. So they took her. She had the operation, her tooth, took the tooth out, and she was completely well, when they thought she was mentally going mad. So that's, and there are many other works. He was also an exceptional medium. He did a lot of help. He helped a lot of people. And I think, when you think about Chico Xavier as well, that's the main thing. He helped lots and lots and lots of people. And, we also have Divaldo Franco, who has done amazing work and have helped, his Maçã do Caminho, help a lot of children and a lot of elderly people as well. So people who use their mediumship not to become rich and famous and anything, but to help those who are in need. And I think if we could resume mediumship in one word, it would be charity, to help those who are in need in the spiritual world and also in the incarnate world. These people become such a great mediums because their life is totally dedicated to the service of others. And that's it, isn't it?
Yeah. And just answer some questions here. Trevor asked about, he didn't know about the Chico. If I'm not wrong, Trevor, Sunday during our meeting, we do have this book. Charlie just showed you in English in our library. We do have
yes,
it.
It's Guy Leon Playfair. Yes, Guy Playfair.
Yeah, we do have this. So, and also Trevor asked here if we do have any medium like Chico Xavier nowadays. I would say Nadja already answers that. Nowadays we have like Divaldo, um, but in the at the level, I'm not. But the way Chico was, we don't have.
No,
Yes,
not
Chico
like
was exceptional. Huh?
Yes,
So
yes.
there are a lot of others, of course, and that's he was exceptional, to make the mediumship being known and accepted and recognized. But
yes,
the trend now is you have more and more mediums, but of course not of the same level as Chico. And Divaldo is also, he's still alive with 97 now. Of course, it's
Yeah,
getting a little bit more difficult
yeah,
physically, but he also published over several hundreds of books.
yes. He has published over 300 books, and we are studying this because he has written out a book to the spiritual energy Angelis, who writes a lot about psychotherapy, psychology, and which is being extremely helpful. But it is Givaldo is a magnificent medium, fantastic work. But Chico, as Charles said, he was exceptional. He was one in a million. And I think, when we talk about mediumship as well, very quickly, in Spiritism, we have mediumship with Jesus because we are Christians. And Jesus was a medium, but he was a spirit of such a high level that he in the book Genesis, the spirit said Jesus was the medium of God. He had everything, he could communicate. And there are many passages within the gospel that, especially the one that reminded me, remembering when he's in the mountain, in Tabor mountain, that he's seeing with his apostles Peter and John and James. They actually saw him completely transformed and talk, and they could recognize he was talking to Moses and to Elias. And they talked about having the tabernacle. So it's very, very important, because that's exactly the point that I was making in the beginning, that Spiritism teaches us that mediumship is free. What you receive for free, you give for free. That comes from the Gospels, really. So, Trev, there's some book of Divaldo in English as well, okay?
Oh yeah, we do have it, Trevor,
Sorry,
in
I'm
our
just
library.
answering Trev. He asked, is
Yeah.
Divaldo books all in Portuguese? I said there are some in English too.
Oh, as we do have Chico books in English, so in our library, Trevor, we do have some books, Chico psychographed
But
in
you can
English.
find a lot of others on Amazon, no? Because
Yeah,
in Feb Publishing, they are publishing a lot of translation in English.
yeah, and also we do have in our library. So
Yes, I
no,
think
no
there
book
is
talking
a
about.
thing here. Sorry.
Go
Yes, we
ahead.
do. Just one thing that I think, something that Trav wrote about the pineal gland. Yes, the pineal gland is a gland that controls sexuality in children. And once the person becomes an adult and active, it calcifies, but it doesn't stop it being calcified. The pineal gland, it releases serotonin and a lot of hormones. And nowadays, it's not something that it stops. It actually controls the cycle, the circadian cycle. There's so many things now that they are being studied. And also, I think one of the things that's important about the pineal gland is that it stays in the side of our brain here, right at the back. And if we could put our fingers through our forehead, we could touch it. And one thing that's special there as well is that the pineal gland, the tissues that created the pineal gland, are the same as our eye. So when we talk about the third eye, that's the pineal gland, and is our connection to the spiritual world as well. And it's individual. each person, each animal has a pineal gland, and they are individual. Not one is like the other. So there is a lot more function than just being calcified. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So, Zandarby.
There was this Roseanne Darby, but I can't understand the
Yeah,
question. I don't
I'd
know if
love to know what happened so I can try move on as I'm completely lost and stuck. Roseanne, could you give us a little bit of context, please? Uh, with my sister in spirit. Oh, she wants to connect probably with his sister who
yeah.
probably passed away. It is in the spiritual world.
Yeah, we don't do this kind of work here, do we? So it's
Yeah.
difficult.
Yeah.
Um,
So, Roseanne, if you are based in UK, if you go to BUS, British Union Society of Spirits, you may find a lot of spirit centers in London. So you can go to one of these
is
spirit
she in
centers.
London though?
I'm
Uh,
just saying if she's in London,
yes.
you know,
If wherever you
uh,
are, let us know where
yeah,
you are.
if you are in the US, you can look like, for example, Cardiac Radio. Cardiac Radio does have some contacts as well. If you're here in Ireland, we do have the Spirit Society of Ireland. We do have meetings every Sunday in Dublin 4. So, oh, Roseanne, you are in
She's
Ireland.
in
Great,
Ireland. Yes.
good. So this is easy because in Dublin we do have the Spirit Society of Ireland. It is located in Ringsend, Dublin 4. So do have meetings every Sunday, uh, and we can assist you and talk to you. As Silvia said, the communication, it is something that may happen. Is not necessary. Not because I want you to connect, we will connect. That doesn't work like this. Okay, so we can have a conversation with you. We can talk with you in order to. You'd love a message from her, yes, but she needs to be ready to give the message as well.
You're willing to as well,
Yeah,
isn't it?
yeah. So we want to have a message, of course, but we don't know if she's ready, if she has permission to give this message. You know what I mean? So it's it's not because she's there, she can communicate every time. It doesn't work this way, my dear.
But I think, if you connect with her, I think one of the good things that you do is to pray for her. Pray that she's at peace, that she's that she's missed, that you love her, and that you're praying that she's well and at peace. And whenever she can give you a message for herself. You will have an intuition of her presence. Sometimes I think our friends, our family, will come to visit you. They when they have permission, they will come to visit you, and you have a sense of her presence. So just be aware of that, and just pray for her, and send her a lot of love, and ask God to give her light, and to that she is at peace and love. And when she can, she will communicate with you. She'll find a way. And sometimes you just feel her presence. And if you do, just send her a lot of love, a lot of peace. Isn't it? because there are so many ways of receiving a message. You just
Can be a
being
dream.
aware.
Yeah.
Is
And
you know, like for instance, sometimes on Mother's Day, on Sunday, when it's Mother's Day, and I'm doing my gospel at home, many times I have felt the presence of my mother when I'm doing the gospel at home on Mother's Day, that I pray for my mother and for all the mothers of the world. And you just sense it, and it brings a lot of joy, you know. So you don't need anybody to bring a message to you. You can get the message yourself.
And also, I put the link on the comment box, Roseanne. If you will need to go to our Spirit Center, that's the address, the location, every details you need to know when we have our meetings. It will be nice to know you and talk to you. Okay, so we are 8 minutes over time. So I want you to say thank you, everyone. Because of this, we didn't discuss the topic for next week. So we will share shortly what is our topic for next week. So appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody who joined us. Trevor, Roseanne, Neide, Brazil, London, our dear Elsa, Betty, Stevenson. So thank you very much for Lucas Costa. So thank you very much, guys, for being here with us. And I'll see you next Wednesday, 9 p.m. Okay? Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your night. Thank you, Charles. Thank you, Silvia.
Thank you. God bless everyone. Have a good week.
All the
Take
best.
care of yourselves.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Perrine, thank you, Perrine. Thank you. I hope you're okay, my dear. All the good vibrations to you and your family in this moment, my dear. Thank you for being here with us.